Hello and welcome to No Drama Discipline Calming the Chaos Part 3. I'm Jennifer Sheridan. I'm the Family Services Coordinator here at the Coleman Center in Petal, Mississippi. And I am delighted to come to you guys today to talk really some more about some strategies we can utilize as parents and as caregivers to help support our kiddos as they grow and develop. So this is, like I said, part number 3. We are basing a lot of our work in this series on this book by Daniel Siegel and Tina Payne-Bryson called No Drama Discipline, Calming the Chaos. This is where the name comes from. And the whole tagline of the book is the whole brain way to calm the chaos and nurture your child's developing mind. So if you have not watched the first 2 parts of this series, I encourage you to do so. If you're watching the recorded version of this, I would say stop this and go watch or listen to the first 2 parts. Those are located on our YouTube channel. But if you're here live with us today, you just go ahead and seatbelt in and we'll just roll right along, and you can check out those first 2 episodes in the series on our YouTube channel. Like I said, you can find all of these links on our Facebook page. If you somehow got to this video and you don't even know how you got to it, or maybe a friend sent it to you, you can find all of these links on our Facebook page, or you can give us a call or shoot me an email. I'll have all that info at the end to get you to the right place. So I'm so excited because we are talking about myths, about mistakes that even great parents make. And in part 2, we talked about the first 10. So there are 20 that Daniel and Tina describe in this book. And like I said, go back, get those first 10 because they are common mistakes. And these next 10 are no different. I know as a therapist, I will often coach or counsel a family maybe with some strategies or give them some things to put in their toolbox. And they may say something like, "You must be a great mom." "You must be the perfect mom," is usually what they'll say. Or, "You must handle every situation perfectly. I wish you could just be there." And guys, I wish, no, I don't even wish. I sometimes fall into the trap of thinking, I'm supposed to be perfect too. Like I'm supposed to have all the answers. And guys, no matter if you're a child therapist or you work a register in a retail shop, or you are a school teacher or a businessman, whatever it is that you do out in the work world, or you're a homemaker even, and your life is centered around the family, none of us are perfect. And this is the relief that we can feel when we allow that truth to resonate inside of us and we get rid of these distortions telling us that I'm supposed to be perfect all the time. I'm supposed to have it all figured out. We're just not. That's not how life is designed. That's not how our brains are designed. We're constantly learning and growing. And I, for one, am thankful for that. Because if I fall into the trap of thinking I've got to do this perfect every single time, or I'm going to just ruin my children, then really I'm just going to be miserable most of my parenting years. And so that's one thing we can leave at the door. We can leave shame out there to live on its own. And we can live in the freedom that we're going to make mistakes, that we can ask our kiddos for forgiveness. We can ask our partner for forgiveness and say, I want to do better. I want to do differently next time. And realize everything that we do, if we do something one time and it just works really well, doesn't mean every other time it's going to work super well. You know, our kiddos are still growing and learning, and based on their developmental age, you know, we may have to teach them, we may have to go alongside of them, and lots of different discipline strategies again and again and again, which can be a little frustrating for us. So let's dive right in. We've covered 1 through 10. I'm not even going to review those because we have such a short time here. This is only a 30-minute webinar. So number 11, 20 discipline mistakes even great parents make. We forget that our children may sometimes need our help making good choices or calming themselves down. Now, what I find is if you have a kiddo that, let's say, is really verbal, maybe even more verbal, or if I scored them on some kind of assessment chart, they may score high for even their developmental age. And then what happens is we as parents say, they can do this on their own, right? They can calm themselves down. They've done it before. And what we forget is that they oftentimes need help doing this, making a good choice, just like sometimes I need help. So I don't know if you're like me, you're trying to eat healthy. You know, I'm trying to exercise a little more here in 2020. I'm trying to eat a little bit more healthfully so I can feel energized. I can sleep really well. Well, I can do it on my own, right? Like, I'm making all of my own choices. But one of the best things I was able to do several weeks ago is talk to two of my best friends and say, hey guys, I need some help. I've got to start bringing my lunch to work. I really want to eat at home more. I don't want to eat out. What can I do to help? Now, I know I can write down a list of things because I've read some articles and I've watched some webinars or follow people on Instagram, whatever that is. But there's nothing like someone coming alongside of me saying, I know you can do this and I'm going to help you. And then every week I get to say, like, here's some pitfalls I've noticed. How do you think I can work better on this? Our kiddos need the same thing. Sometimes they can do it, like cognitively they're smart enough, right? They've got enough neurons and they maybe even their mirror neurons. They know what it's like to calm themselves down. They're just going to need our help. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to remind ourselves over and over, our kiddos are going to need our help. So number 12, we consider an audience when disciplining. This is a really tough one because what happens is we start looking at, I'm going to grab my computer charger while I'm talking about this one. So if you see me moving around, I just realized my computer wasn't plugged in. But what happens is with this one, and I feel like it's super common no matter what kind of family you come from or, you know, what area you're in. If you're in like Walmart or maybe, you know, you're, oh gosh, at Sam's bringing your kiddos there and it's just wild and out there. You know, I'm exhausted by the time I leave Sam's. And I'm a fully adjusted adult, right? Or I think I am most days. So what we do is we consider this audience when disciplining, and things change, right? We may even overreact a little bit. I feel like I had this experience with families when they're around their families, right? We have a lot of big feelings wrapped up in understanding what our families think about us. Right? And so what we do is we really start acting so differently. And so what we need to do is consider that audience and say, maybe I need to take my child away from this situation and maybe we need to talk it out. Okay, give me 1 second while I plug this computer in. I would hate for us to lose a connection in the middle of it. So then number 13, we get trapped in power struggles. If you have a kiddo that has a big personality, I haven't met too many kiddos that don't have a big personality. But when we do, what often happens is we start struggling for power, right? Especially when our kiddos hit this like preschool initiative versus guilt stage that Erickson talks to us about. And they really start trying to make their own choices. Right? They're trying to exert power over the situation to understand themselves more, to understand how do I navigate this world. And you would think ages 3 to 5, they shouldn't be navigating the world on their own, right? But they do. This is what this stage is all about. So that's why we have a lot of exploration, a lot of play in this stage. And I think if I could just guess, this is why we have a lot of struggle during the toddler years, because we get into this power struggle with our kiddos and we're like, whoa, I'm the mom here. Everybody should be listening to me. And one thing that we need to remember is that if we start getting in these power struggles, someone is going to be disappointed. It's just what's going to happen. And if our kiddos continually get disapproval because we're disapproving of their actions, it's going to cause this guilt inside of them to reside. And I would hate for them to shift back into this like autonomy versus shame stage, which is really more of a like age 2 to 3 stage that we see kids in. So we're wanting them to move out. We're wanting them to have some mastery over some things. And guys, for those of us who want control over situations, with those of us who want for our children to follow our lead, get in line, do the right thing. I've told you once, I shouldn't have to tell you again. Like for those of us who grew up in that kind of family and are parenting that way, it's just a struggle. We are going to feel unsuccessful as parents, and our kiddos are going to feel unsuccessful in learning how to navigate who they are and understanding their place in the world. And I know, guys, that's aged what, 3 to 5? That seems so young to be figuring something out, but that's where this starts. And what we want is for kiddos to work through all of these psychosocial stages of their life so that they become mature adults who are secure in themselves and confident in themselves. All right, let's look at number 14. Now, number 14 says, we discipline in response to our habits and feelings, really instead of responding to our individual child in a particular moment. Now, what's hard is that we do this and it's just not fair to our kiddos. And so what we want to do is respond right here in this moment. We want to stay in the present and address the issue right now. One of the things that I talk about when I do parent training is always that when we connect and we are correcting our child's behavior, the really third stage is to empower them, right? That's what we're doing. We're empowering them to get over. But I would add a fourth stage for us, because our kiddos do this just naturally. Most of them can they just do it. But it's us as parents. We need that fourth step in this process. And that fourth step is letting it go. If we hold on to what, Johnny did 2 hours ago, we're still kind of mad at that because it ruined our plan. Ugh. They broke grandma's vase that I just got, from her that she just gave to me. And it was really special. And they just broke that. So 2 hours later, I'm still frustrated by that. 2 hours later, I'm still grieving some kind of loss, either of just control or loss that I thought the day was going to go like XYZ and it went LMNOP, right? But what we can do is if we can respond in that moment, not based on all these responses that we've had last week, but if we can respond right here in the here and now, then what we can do is really meet the child where they are and help them to understand how it is that we're going to respond in the future, right? But if we only do this part of the time, like we're super just inconsistent, we're all over the place. Sometimes we hold grudges, sometimes we don't. Our kiddos are going to be really confused about, hey, how is mom going to respond when I'm in this sticky situation? And my kids are, we're in the preteen stage, right? So we're in this stage where our kiddos are launching into adolescence and about to, make their own choices about a lot of different things and really be on their own. And so what I want to happen is I want them to understand, like, I'm going to react and I'm going to be here in the moment with you to help connect and to help correct this behavior when it's the proper time. But if I keep pulling up things that are going on over and over again, then they're not going to come to me and say, I've got this big issue. And when they're teenagers, that's exactly what I want them to do, is to be able to come to me. And so we're playing the long game, right? This is a marathon. Parenting is it is the ultimate long game. We're not here just to make it through today, although sometimes I know we feel that way. But here we're parenting, we're setting foundation after foundation in order so that our kids can live and develop and grow on secure bases. So number 15, we embarrass our kids by correcting them in front of others. Now, you may initially think, just like I did, like others, okay, yeah. So, like, I don't want to do that in front of their friends. I would hate to do that. I would hate that. But I would say this even includes siblings. So, if your kiddos have some sibling rivalry, you have kiddos that are close in age, or your kids are one of their Achilles heels might be shame. They just fall into a shame spiral so quickly. This could be anybody. I mean, it could be, another parent that's unaware of the situation, and then they see you correcting them, and then they're embarrassed because now they think the other parent's going to overreact. But embarrassing our kids, it only leads to shame. I would say this is a huge trap for teachers, right? Because as teachers, and I fell into this trap too, as a new teacher, I was so new. I didn't even know what I was doing in the classroom. I was trying to figure it all out. And then I would end up embarrassing junior high kids were just the worst. I would end up embarrassing them, and I didn't even realize that's what I was doing at the time. But what I want to do is I want to pull them off to the side. I want them to be able to, I want to be able to address that maybe at a later date. At a later time on the same day, not in front of everybody. And if we have sibling rivalries, then we've got to really be able to manage that so that those sibling relationships are taken care of. So that's our number 15. So number 16, I can get us to the next one. Number 16 on the 20 discipline mistakes even great parents make. We assume the worst before letting our kids explain. I used to do this in the classroom as well. So if you're a teacher listening to this, I don't know, write this on a sticky note, put it on your desk or on your computer, let them explain. I can't tell you the frustration that I feel when I feel accused of something, or I feel like, maybe my boss is calling me in and maybe she's got something that she doesn't understand. Now, luckily, I have a really amazing boss, and she will just say, well, this thing happened, and I was curious, what was going on with that. And so she's looking for, an explanation, and I'm so thankful for that. But oftentimes what we do with our kiddos is we immediately assume the worst about them. We immediately assume the worst has happened. And so what we do when this happens is we are taking away our child's opportunity to have a voice and to share their experience with us. And so I want us to be able to say, I want my child to express what was happening. Sometimes we overextend what we think our kiddos are capable of. And then after we explain how egregious this error was, or how ridiculous this behavior was, we might say it was so ridiculous. Well, then they explain from their viewpoint, or they explain their limited knowledge of something. And then we realize, gosh, they didn't even know. They didn't realize. And I don't know at what point as parents we start thinking our kids know more. I don't know if it's when they start talking. I have a feeling it might be. But we've got to realize that there are a lot of gaps our kids can't pick up on because maybe they're still concrete thinkers. They're not thinking in the abstract like we are as adults with a fully formed prefrontal lobe or neocortex. So we've got this like top brain fully formed. If you're over the age of 25, I think you do. Science tells me you're about that at that stage, but our kiddos don't. And so if we're looking for our kids to be able to integrate all of that, remember they're still working. That's back to the beginning of this list, that our kids are still working this out and they're going to need our help. So number 17, I think kind of like is a layer of that. Number 16 is that we dismiss our kids' experience. So if we're minimizing our child's experience, we might say things like, you're just tired. Stop fussing. Why are you crying about this? We make those statements like we don't understand what's going on with them. Well, guys, we may not understand what's going on with them, but to just dismiss their feelings, dismiss their whole experience, it completely breaks apart connection. So what we want to do is we want to always start with connection first, and then we can correct the behavior after we've connected. But if we're not connecting, you're not going to get your child to act the way you want them to in all situations. Or I would say even in most situations, you're just not going to. They're not going to feel that safety with you in order that they're going to have the fullest childhood experience that they can in whatever way and whatever their abilities are, their developmental age. So this is why we do a lot of like mirroring. And it is to bring about attunement. Like we want to be attuned with the other people, that are with us. So, it would be like going to an anniversary dinner and, my husband and I, we load up in the car, we've got a babysitter, like we know we're about to drop all this money because I got to pay a babysitter, and then we're going to go eat, and maybe I'll go get a froyo afterwards. So we do all this, we get in the car, we go, and, and we sit down. And my husband, well, I'm not going to do it for me. So I'm going to say my husband pulls out his phone and he starts doing this. And he's like, do you want me to order that thing off Amazon? And okay, let me go ahead and get that. And like, I'm going to go ahead and register our son for basketball and this and that. And I'm sitting here at this restaurant. I've, brushed my hair, and I've actually made it to the restaurant. And so what happens is, like, I think we're going to have this dinner where we're going to connect, and we're going to look at each other, and we're going to laugh together, and we're going to tell funny stories or whatever. And he is thinking this is a business meeting. And so he's like getting stuff done. He's marking stuff off the list. So we're just not attuned. Like we're not in the same place. Do I want that stuff done? Yes, at some point we've got to get that stuff done. But what happens is, like, we're not attuned. So he's looking down. He's not even worried I'm here. We do this with our kiddos. I would say a lot. And so one thing that we can do is a lot of mirroring. So if my child is excitable and having a good time, and they come in and they're like, trying to get me engaged, then I want to do that. I want to get engaged with them. And same thing when they're feeling upset, I want to help kind of mirror some of that and help them to understand that I am here with them in the pain. So number 18, we just expect too much. So here are Erikson's stages of psychosocial development. This is where we are. As we reach one, we've mastered one, we get to move on to the next one. And so this is what we're experiencing through different stages of our life. On into maturity, you can see there, ego integrity versus despair. But I see a lot of challenges here in this preschool and school age, the yellow and green. So preschool, I've kind of talked about that age like 3 to 5, where we've got a lot of initiative versus guilt happening, and we're really trying to assert control and power over our environment. And then school age, we're looking, that's like 6 to 11. So right before adolescence, we've hit school. We're entering into new social and academic demands on ourselves, and a success really does lead to competence. And so the more we have, the more we're feeling industrious, right? But when we don't have that confidence, we're having a lot of failures, then that's when we're feeling that inferiority. So I wanted just to give you a picture. You can Google this, you can look this up. There's like tons of charts if you're interested in figuring out where do your kiddos lie, and a lot of like outcomes, a lot of like key questions might be good for you to check out as well. So number 19, we let experts trump our own instincts. Now, I think number one of our greatest tragedies, and also one of our most amazing things that we have access to, is the internet. And we can find so many experts that say all sorts of different things. They are constantly, telling us one thing. We can find an expert that says the opposite, right? You can find this with diet and food, right? I can find experts who say you should be vegetarian, only eat plants. And then I can find experts who say if you want to be healthy, eat some plants, but really focus on all that protein and eat lots of animals. So, I mean, what we've got to do is just fill our bucket, fill our toolbox in, and then we, as the experts of our own lives, we've got to assess, what is this family situation I am in? What is the situation about? How can I best meet the needs of my child? And then number 20, kind of like what I started out this webinar with, is we are too hard on ourselves as parents. We think we have got to have it all together. But I would say, like Daniel Siegel and Tina Payne-Bryson say, love your kids, set clear boundaries, discipline with love, and when you mess up, apologize, repair that relationship with them. And I think if we're focusing on these things, we're going to make mistakes, sure. But we're always going to be able to come back to our home base and say, these are the things I want to do. This is the way I want to parent. Whether it's I have a really strict limit on playing video games, or have a really strict limit on going places without me present, and I'll allow you to go out with, maybe a family or friend's family that we trust. So whatever our limits are, it can fit into this loose framework of setting clear boundaries, of starting with love, starting with connection, and disciplining also in that love, and then always going back to repair when we do make mistakes. So, whew, that was fast. Our next parent education webinar is Tuesday, February 4th, 12:30 to 1. We'll be right back here on our Zoom meeting. You can find this on our YouTube channel if you're looking to review some things. And like I said, these 20 strategies came from this No Drama Discipline book by Daniel Siegel and Tina Payne-Bryson, experts in the field. I love their work. I think it's very beneficial for children and our development as parents. You can also find a webinar all about their book called The Whole Brain Child. Fantastic book as well, to help get us jump started into really healthy parenting. So call us, message us on Facebook, or drop by the Coleman Center and ask your questions, and let us support you as a family, as parents, as caregivers in your journey of parenting. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I'll see you soon.